What's poppin', y'all? There's been this narrative about Tay-K that's gaining steam, and we're not gonna let this narrative run. It all started with this letter that he penned for his fans from prison, and he said the following: Yo, I'm sitting here thinking about all my fans. I love and miss y'all. I know there's a lot that I haven't directly spoke on, and there are many things my fans know, but I'm not sure everybody else does. I've been here for 5.5 years now, and I feel indebted to y'all for going so crazy behind me. I don't know what he means by going crazy. It's still crazy to me that I never had a chance to live outside as an adult. I've been locked up and in and out of the quote-unquote justice and CPS system for my whole life. Not sure if y'all know, but I got sentenced as an adult to 55 years in prison for a crime where I wasn't even the shooter. I wasn't even alleged to have a gun. I was never even suspected to have pulled a trigger or hurt anyone. I was young and didn't have no positive figures around. Now that I'm older, I know how important focusing on leading by example is. I love my fans and I don't want anyone to think I'm promoting or really recommending violence. That's why I really dedicate a lot of my time in here to using the success of my music to have a positive impact on other young artists, even if it's something small like taking a phone call or writing a letter to keep them positively inspired. Regardless of my situation, the movement is eternal. He then went on to tweet, just heard about the response to my letter. I'm forever indebted to my fans for going so crazy on my behalf. Hashtag free Tay-K. It means a lot, especially in this situation. And we not letting these fake stories fly. We gonna get the truth out. The truth is, Tay-K is one of the people that I think there's zero argument anyone could have that he deserved every single year that he got. And the narrative switching right now that's happening by Tay-K stans and people is that, oh, you know, he wasn't holding the gun and he just showed up and he didn't mean to kill anybody. Tay-K was a serial criminal. If you just look at the other case, I'm pretty sure he still has another case that they haven't, brought to light, or he's still fighting. But he had an armed robbery, I'm pretty sure that was at Chick-fil-A. He beat up some old man, a really old man. And I don't know if this was when he was on the run or when he wasn't on the run. But I got to take a look at that real quickly, actually. Yeah, I had to look that up. Yeah, this woman is basically suing Tay-K because her son was 23 years old. And at a Chick-fil-A in San Antonio, Tay-K ran up on him with a gun, trying to rob him of his camera equipment, and he killed him. And this guy was 23 years old, and they're saying he's the gunman. Now, of course, he's not convicted, but let's keep it real here. This is another crime that he did. This is where he's accused of being the gunman, and this is where he's accused of killing the person. So he was doing this crime. Then, on top of all of that, he's doing another armed robbery, which is the one where he's going to prison for right now. Tay-K is not innocent. Tay-K is a menace, or Tay-K was a menace to society. He was throwing up gang signs, everything. And I think something we can really learn from the judge that delivered the sentencing to XXXTentacion's killers was he said the crime that they did was terrible. But what was especially heinous was how, after they killed him, they were flexing with the money. There was zero remorse for what they did. They were flexing with that money. They were dancing around with it. They were happy with the crime that they had committed, even after the outcome. Because if they felt remorse about having killed him, they wouldn't be flexing all that stuff and dancing around all happy. They would, enjoy the quote-unquote spoils of war in their eyes and keep it pushing. But Tay-K, oh man. So after all of this happens, Tay-K does the race, makes a music video about it, pretty much glorifies it, and gets popular doing that. And then, no, he was just a victim of the system? Absolutely not. We're not taking that. Tay-K deserves every one of those 55 years. And I think he's finally starting to talk like this because he's, 22, 23 now? I think it's finally starting to hit his brain that he is not getting out of there. He's never getting out. Well, if he lives that long, but he's not getting out till 60, 65, 67? So he's pretty much not getting out. And I think it takes some time for it to eventually smack someone upside the head like that. And I think the more time he's spending in prison, he's starting to recognize those things. Because he's consistently been tweeting about prison. I remember he retweeted some other dude's tweet in January saying, coming to prison at such a young age and learning how to be a man in a place where we are treated like animals can be mentally challenging. It's days where I want to give up and say F this, but the support of my friends and family keep me going. Shout out the R Real. And then he says, I'm staying alive for my fans. I'm locked up with the hash-slinging slasher. And this was in reference to when he said, dude in the cell by me killed his cellie with a tray and stood on his head. Whoa. So I think it's getting to the point where Tay-K is really being beat down by prison, and it's starting to actually harm his mental. Before, he was trying to thug it out, and it's understandable. I don't feel bad for him at all. And when he says treated like animals, he was treating people worse than animals. At least animals here. I mean, look at Hasbulla, man. Hasbulla was just he just gave his cat some love taps, pulled its ear a little bit. He's like, man, that's you've been a bad cat. And they're killing him over that. Tay-K was exterminating life, or contributing to exterminate life. We don't know if he's guilty of the San Antonio shooting at that Chick-fil-A. Yeah, Tay-K, I do not feel bad for his situation at all in any capacity. He was a perpetrator of the system. He felt no remorse. He actually enjoyed everything that he was doing at that moment. He thought it was cool. The victim of drill music, I would say, if he's a victim of anything. But now I actually do think he's learning, and this is where I got to give Tay-K credit. Tay-K is not getting out. He should not be getting out. But the fact that he's trying to push and set out this message to younger artists that what he did wasn't cool and it ruined his life, and now he's been in there since he was 16, locked up, and he's not going to get out, that is a message I can get behind. And I'm not here to judge Tay-K's intentions and say, oh, he's just doing this for sympathy points, because realistically, what hope is there for him? I think I'm just going to accept the fact that he's trying to reform and trying to send a message to younger artists. And I do think he's someone that they made an example of. And being that he's someone that they made an example of, and now he's trying to set an example for younger kids, younger artists, like, yo, what I did was not it. It screwed me over. And to be fair, his crimes are what helped, propel him to the level that he got to. If people are going to listen, if kids are going to listen, the only person that they would be willing to listen to is somebody like a Tay-K that actually did all of that stuff. Otherwise, they're just not trying to hear it. And for the most part, they're not trying to hear it from anybody. But my question is, do you really think that if Tay-K was free, or if Tay-K had been given another chance, that he would have learned his lesson? Because I sincerely do not believe that. Because we've even seen people like Kodak Black, who is one of my favorite artists, repeatedly just not change. No matter what he's been through, how many times he's been locked up. And he's been out of the way now. But his personality, I think he still likes to do the same thing that he did back then. And I don't think he feels like any of it is wrong, per se. He just realizes like, oh, this is going to get me into trouble. But Tay-K, had he not gone to jail and been rewarded for that behavior because he already got popular and stayed popping and beat the case or whatever, I don't believe he would have learned. He was too young. He was getting rewarded for all of these mistakes. And I think he would have kept pushing that message. For example, Pooh Shiesty right now, he's locked up. When he gets out, we're going to see, did he learn? Or is he still going to, push the same message? And I'm not saying in the music, because I feel like somebody like 21 Savage has learned from his past. And while he still talks about that stuff in the music, I think as an individual, you can see that 21 Savage is not trying to purport this lifestyle that he did and was doing when he first got into the game. I think he's trying to do his best outside of music to show like, hey, this is not the path to follow, which I do have a lot of respect for. And I think 21 Savage is somebody that was able to learn before it was too late in the case of Tay-K and a lot of these other artists that are getting locked up.